Missing Millions. The Hidden Fortune of the Woolworth Mansion. May 31st, 1917. The last light of spring bleeds across Long Island Sound, gilding the copper dome of Winfield Hall. Inside the 56-room palace, 400 guests swirl beneath a ceiling painted with the zodiac in gold leaf. Crystal chandeliers blaze with one or 200 electric bulbs, each one a silent testament to the fortune extracted from 5 and dime counters across America. The orchestra strikes up a ragtime waltz. Laughter ricochets off Italian marble walls that cost more per square foot than most families earned in a lifetime. Yet 200 miles north, in a darkened Manhattan hotel room, Edna Woolworth, heiress to this very splendour, swallows poison. Her father's masterpiece gleams. Her life ends. Here stands the paradox. A mansion built to immortalise triumph, now whispering of vanished millions and buried secrets. Winfield Hall, 32,000 square feet of Beaux-Arts grandeur, on 16 prime acres in Glen Cove, devoured $10 million $1916, more than $250 million today. Its marble staircase alone, carved from a single Carrara quarry block, carried a $2 million price tag. 56 rooms, 27 bathrooms, a private power plant, and rumoured steel-lined safes concealed behind mahogany panels. The public saw opulence. The family knew misery. The workers felt exploitation. Somewhere beneath the parquet floors and frescoed ceilings lies a fortune no inventory has ever fully traced. This is the untold story of Winfield Hall, not just the bricks and gold leaf, but the human ledger of ambition, labour, and loss. We will walk the corridors where tycoon Frank Winfield Woolworth staged his final act of legacy, trace the immigrant hands that lifted every stone, and uncover the ledgers that hint at millions unaccounted for after his death in 1919. We will stand in the service tunnels where scullery maids earned 35 cents an hour, while the owner dined off solid gold plates. We will follow the mansion through bankruptcy auctions, Hollywood film sets, and modern restoration, asking one question that has haunted Glen Cove for a century. Where did the money go? Tonight the gates are locked, the ballroom silent, but the walls remember. Chapter 1. The Enigma of Winfield Hall, May 31st, 1917. The orchestra swells. Silk gowns brush against suits cut from English broadcloth. Champagne flows from fountains carved in the likeness of cherubs. Frank Winfield Woolworth, 64 years old, stands at the foot of the grand staircase. $2 million of white marble spiralling upward like a frozen waterfall. He surveys his creation, 110 feet wide, 160 feet deep, crowned by a dome, 75 feet above the entrance hall. The mansion's footprint alone could swallow a city block of tenements. 16 acres of manicured gardens slope to the Sound, where his 120-foot yacht Winfield rocks at anchor. Every detail screams permanence. Every guest believes the Woolworth fortune is eternal. Yet at that precise moment, Edna Woolworth Hutton, his eldest daughter, lies dying in the Plaza Hotel. The telegram will not reach Glen Cove until dawn. Woolworth will read it, fold it once, and return to greeting senators and Vanderbilts as if nothing has changed. The orchestra will play on. The chandeliers will keep burning. The marble will stay cold. This is the central mystery of Winfield Hall, a palace erected to defy mortality, completed just as the family it was meant to shelter began to disintegrate. Built between 1912 and 1916 at a cost of $10 million, $2 million for marble, $1.5 million for the dome and skylights, $800,000 for custom bronze doors, forged in Paris, the mansion was never merely a home. It was Woolworth's answer to the Astors and Vanderbilts who snubbed the Nickel King. Every room count, every measurement, every invoice carried a message. I belong. Let the numbers speak. 56 principal rooms, not counting 27 bathrooms, 14 guest suites, a 40-foot ballroom, a pipe organ with 2,126 pipes, and a private theatre seating 100. The heating plant consumed 300 tons of coal annually. The staff numbered 17 housemaids, 12 footmen, 8 chefs, 6 laundresses, 5 chauffeurs, and a gardener corps that rivaled Central Park's. Annual operating costs approached $300,000, equivalent to $7.5 million today. All of it funded by a retail empire that sold $40 million worth of merchandise in 1916 alone. Every spool of thread and tin cup priced at 5 or 10 cents. But numbers conceal as much as they reveal. Behind the ballroom's gilded pilasters lay service corridors painted institutional green, lit by single bulbs, where immigrant girls from Naples and Galway scrubbed until their knuckles bled. Beneath the main staircase, a freight elevator large enough for a grand piano carried crates of orchids from the greenhouse, and, on occasion, the body of a stillborn Woolworth grandchild. In the sub-basement, a vault, its combination known only to Frank and his secretary, held securities, diamonds and cash in amounts never disclosed to the IRS. When Woolworth died 2 years later, appraisers found $27 million in declared assets. Whispers persisted of another $10 million in bearer bonds, gold coins, and unset gems that simply vanished. The documentary you are about to experience will peel back the veneer. Chapter by chapter, we will meet the farm boy from Jefferson County who revolutionized retail and built Winfield Hall to crown his empire. Follow the 1-200 workers, Italian stonemasons, Irish ironworkers, black furnace stokers, who raised the walls for wages that barely bought bread. Enter the golden years of 1916-1919, when presidents dined at Woolworth's table and Hollywood discovered the mansion's cinematic potential. Witness the unravelling. Suicides, bankruptcies, and the 1931 auction where the marble staircase alone failed to find a bidder. Trace the mansion's rebirth as a catering hall, a film location, and now a preserved landmark where couples marry beneath the same dome that once sheltered sorrow. Finally confront the ledgers, the rumours, and the archaeological clues that suggest the missing millions may still lie within these walls. Stand with us in the entrance hall. Feel the chill of marble underfoot. Listen, the orchestra has stopped, but the house is not silent. Somewhere a safe clicks shut. A ledger page turns. A fortune waits. The question is not whether the money disappeared. The question is why no one has found it. Yet. In the next chapter, we travel back to 1852 to a windswept farm in Rodman, New York, where a boy named Frank Woolworth first dreamed of a store where everything cost a nickel. His journey to Winfield Hall begins there in the dust of failure and the spark of obsession. Chapter 2. From Dust to Dimes. The marble staircase of Winfield Hall did not begin in Carrara. It began in the red clay of a Jefferson County farm. April 13, 1852. A thin cry cuts through the chill dawn. Frank Winfield Woolworth enters the world in a 2-room log house on the Great Bend Road, Rodman, New York. Population, 1,200 souls, mostly dairy farmers who measure wealth in cows, not carrots. His father, John, clears 40 acres with a single ox team. His mother, Fanny, spins wool by candlelight. The boy learns early, scarcity is the only certainty. Yet scarcity breeds hunger. Young Frank watches peddlers unload ribbons and buttons from canvas sacks, charging whatever the market will bear. At 7, he sells kindling door to door for a penny a bundle. At 12, he clerks in the village store for $3 a week plus board. The owner, Augustus Childs, keeps a sign above the counter. Nothing over 10C. Frank stares at it nightly, memorizing the psychology of the fixed price. The idea lodges like a splinter. If everything costs the same, the poor will buy more. Volume will conquer margin. Failure arrives first. In 1873, 21-year-old Frank borrows $300 from his brother to open a 5C counter in Utica. 6 months later, the shelves are bare, the creditors circling. He returns to Rodman, tail between his legs, but the splinter festers. In 1878, he tries again in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, this time with a red-painted table and a sign. Any article on this counter 5C. Shoppers swarm. By closing time, $195 in nickels and dimes clinks in the till. The formula is born. The empire scales like a fever. 1884, 7 stores. 1890, 28. 1900, 59. Each new location follows the same blueprint. Bright gaslights, open shelves, no haggling. Woolworth perfects the art of the loss leader. A 3C tin cup displayed beside a 10C mirror, luring customers deeper into the maze. Gross margins hover at 40%. Overhead is ruthless. Store managers earn $12 weekly, clerks $6, Stock boys through Fifanikyo. Woolworth keeps the difference. By 1911, the F.W. Woolworth Company rings up $52 million in annual sales, $1.6 billion in 2025 dollars, from 586 stores stretching from Maine to California. Location for the ultimate statement is chosen with surgical care. 1910. Woolworth stands on a bluff in Glen Cove, Long Island, 28 miles east of Manhattan. The site, 16 acres of former Vanderbilt pasture, 300 feet of private beachfront on Long Island Sound. Purchase price, $850,000 cash, $26 million today. Why here? Proximity to the Gold Coast Barrens he intends to eclipse, plus a rail spur for construction materials and a deep-water dock for his yacht. The land slopes gently, perfect for terraced gardens and a 400-foot axial vista from Port Cocher to sea. Soil tests reveal stable glacial till. Bedrock lies just 12 feet down. Engineers nod. The farm boy has become a geologist of status. Social context sharpens the ambition. The Gilded Age is peaking. Carnegie sells US steel for $480 million. Rockefeller controls 90% of American oil. Yet retail remains the province of dry goods wholesalers who sneer at nickel kings. Woolworth's 1911 IPO raises $25 million overnight, making him the richest retailer alive. The New York Times calls him the Napoleon of the 5 and 10. He reads the headline, folds the paper, and wires architect C.P.H. Gilbert. Build me a house that will silence them all. Gilbert, fresh from designing the Woolworth Building skyscraper, sketches a Beaux-Arts colossus, limestone façade, copper mansard roof, interior courts modelled on Versailles. Woolworth approves every line. He wants 50,000 square feet minimum, a dome visible from the Sound, and a budget without limit. The contradiction is already forming. A man who made his fortune selling to the masses now commissions a palace that will consume the wages of 10,000 store clerks for a decade. Personal contradictions deepen. Woolworth marries Jenny Creighton in 1876. She is pious, frugal, allergic to ostentation. He promises her a modest brick house in Scranton. Instead, he builds Winfield Hall, named not for himself but for his middle name, a nod to humility that fools no one. Jenny begs him to scale back. He counters with a private railroad car and a $50,000 pearl necklace. Their daughters, Edna, Helena, and Jessie, grow up shuttled between Manhattan townhouses and European finishing schools, fluent in French, ignorant of grocery prices. Edna, the eldest, will later write in her diary, "Papa measures love in marble." Economic context fuels the fire. Between 1900 and 1914, America's millionaires triple to 16,000. Long Island's North Shore becomes their playground. 500 estates, 1,000 miles of private roads, 70 yacht clubs. Woolworth joins the Piping Rock Club, the Meadowbrook Hunt, the Creek Club, paying $5,000 initiation fees while his store girls earn 18 cents an hour. He tells reporters, "I give the public what it wants at a price it can afford." The public, apparently, does not include the carpenters who will raise his palace. By 1912, the vision is locked. Gilbert's final plans, 110-foot width, 160-foot sequoia, depth, 75-foot dome, 56 principal rooms, 27 baths, 14 fireplaces, 1,200 electric lights powered by a 100-kilowatt plant in the sub-basement. Construction budget, $8 million. Furnishings, another $2 million. Annual upkeep, $300,000, all to be ready for occupancy by Christmas 1916. The farm boy signs the contracts with a flourish. But blueprints are not bricks. In the next chapter, we descend into the mud and steel of 1912-1916, where 200 men, Italian masons paid $2.50 a day, Irish ironworkers at $3, black coal heavers at $1.75, will wrestle 40,000 tons of limestone and 3,000 tons of marble into a monument that will outlast them all. Their stories too are carved into Winfield Hall, though few will ever see the finished rooms. Chapter 3. The Marble Mountain. The first dynamite blast echoes across Glen Cove on October 14, 1912. A 40-foot crater yawns where the south lawn will be. From this wound, 100 men will raise Winfield Hall in 4 brutal years. Architect C.P.H. Gilbert's blueprints, 200 sheets bound in red Morocco, call for 40,000 tons of Indiana limestone, 3,000 tons of Carrara marble, 800 tons of structural steel, and 1.2 million bricks fired in a temporary kiln on the beach. The budget, already $8 million, will balloon to $10 million before the final invoice. Every dollar is tracked in Woolworth's private ledger, but the human cost is recorded only in broken bones and hospital ledgers. Gilbert selects the Thompson Starrett Company as general contractor, fresh from erecting the Woolworth Building skyscraper, the world's tallest. Their superintendent, William J. Byrne, arrives with a stopwatch and a reputation for finishing on schedule. He divides the workforce into 3 8-hour shifts 6 days a week. Italians dominate the stone trade. 420 masons from Carrara and Pietrasanta, lured by $2.50 daily, triple what they earned at home but half the union rate. Irish ironworkers, 180 strong, command $3 for riveting 40 feet above ground without nets. Black coal heavers from Virginia, 90 men, feed the boilers for $1.75 and sleep in a barracks of corrugated iron. Polish carpenters, German electricians, and Scottish plumbers round out the roster. No women, no children, no unions. Material arrives by sea and rail. The private dock handles 22 barges weekly. Limestone blocks, each 6x3x2 feet, weighing 4 tons, are quarried in Bedford, Indiana, dressed on site, and hoisted by a 60-foot derrick powered by a 25-horsepower steam engine. Marble is trickier. Woolworth insists on a single quarry in Carrara. 400 blocks, some 20 feet long, travel 4,000 miles by steamship, then up the Hudson to the Long Island Railroad spur, built for the project. Customs duties alone total $180,000. A single miscalculation cracks a 12-ton slab. It is buried in the fill for the North Terrace, still there today. Technical innovation accelerates the pace. Thompson Starrett introduces the travelling scaffold, a wooden platform on rails that circles the façade, eliminating re-erection costs. Electric hoists replace mule teams. Concrete mixers powered by a 50-kilowatt generator churn 200 cubic yards daily. The dome, 75 feet in diameter, 65 feet high, presents the greatest challenge. Gilbert designs a steel skeleton of 120 radial ribs, each 40 feet long, prefabricated in Pittsburgh and bolted on site. A temporary wooden centering supports the Guastavino tile vault until the final keystone locks it into compression. The operation takes 42 days. 3 men fall, 1 fatally. His name, Patrick O'Rourke, aged 29, appears in the Glen Cove Echo obituary column, but not on any mansion plaque. Delays compound. Winter 1913-14 freezes the mortar. Masons chip ice from buckets at 4 a.m. A steel strike in Youngstown halts rib delivery for 6 weeks. Woolworth, monitoring from his Manhattan office, cables daily. No excuses. Double shifts. Byron complies. Accidents spike. The site hospital, really a canvas tent with a single doctor, treats 180 injuries in 1914 alone. Crushed fingers, scalded arms, 1 severed leg when a marble block swings loose. Workers' compensation is $5 weekly. Most men sign waivers to keep their jobs. Wages versus wealth tell the starkest story. A mason earning $15 weekly for 48 hours lays stone that costs $100 per cubic yard installed. The marble staircase, 120 steps, 40 feet wide, carved from a single quarry vein, requires 18 months and 42 artisans. Total cost $2 million. The lead carver, Giovanni Battista Bini, earns $4 daily. His assistant, 19-year-old Luigi Moretti, $1 Woolworth inspects progress in February 1915, climbs the unfinished riser, and declares it fit for a king. He tips Binney $50, a month's wages, and sails away on his yacht. Hidden innovations lurk beneath the glamour. The sub-basement houses a 100-kilowatt direct current plant with 2 75-horsepower boilers and a 60-foot brick chimney disguised as a garden folly. A network of pneumatic tubes, 200 feet total, connects every room to the butler's pantry. A spoken message arrives as a brass capsule in 11 seconds. The plumbing system includes 14 miles of pipe, 27 bathrooms with gold-plated fixtures, and a 10,000-gallon copper water tank on the roof. Electric wiring, 300,000 feet of copper, runs in steel conduits to prevent fire. Every outlet is a custom bronze plate engraved with the Woolworth monogram. By December 1915, the shell stands complete. The dome gleams with verdigris copper. Windows, 114 in total, many with Tiffany-stained glass, arrive from Corona, Queens. Interior work begins, 56 rooms to finish in 12 months. Plasterers apply 400,000 square feet of ornamental ceiling. 87 craftsmen hand-carve oak panelling from trees felled in Sherwood Forest, shipped as a favour from the Duke of Portland. Woolworth visits weekly, stopwatch in hand, approving or rejecting with a nod. He rejects the first ballroom chandelier, 1,200 bulbs 12 feet wide, for being insufficiently dazzling. The replacement, ordered from Baccarat, cost $75,000. The human toll mounts quietly. Luigi Moretti loses 2 fingers to a chisel in March 1916. He is paid $18 severance and sent home to Naples. Patrick O'Rourke's widow receives a $500 insurance check and a form letter expressing regret. The Italian masons strike for 30 minutes in July 1916 over unpaid overtime. Byrne docks them a full day and threatens deportation. Order restores. The final marble block is set on October 3rd, 1916. The workforce, now 800 Finnish carpenters and painters, works through Christmas. On December 26th, Woolworth hosts a topping-out dinner for 200 foremen in the unfinished ballroom. He toasts the finest house in America. No rank-and-file workers are invited. The mansion is ready, but the men who built it are spent. Total payroll, $3.2 million over 4 years. Average annual wage, $780. Woolworth's personal profit from 1916 store sales, $6.8 million. The ratio, 8,700 to 1, will echo in every corridor. In the next chapter, we cross the threshold on New Year's Day 1917, when the Woolworth family occupies Winfield Hall for the first time. 87 staff stand in starched uniforms as the master ascends his $2 million staircase. The golden period begins, but the cracks are already forming in the marble. Chapter 4. The Golden Period. January 1st, 1917. Dawn paints the copper dome, rose gold. At 7:03 a.m., the first Packard limousine crunches across the gravel. Frank Woolworth, 64, steps onto the porte cochere in a sable coat. Behind him, Jenny clutches a Bible. Their daughters, Edna, Helena, Jessie, trail in ermine. 87 staff form 2 perfect lines. 17 housemaids in black bombazine, 12 footmen in scarlet livery, 8 chefs in white toques. The butler, Reginald Hargreaves, bows at precisely 30 degrees. Woolworth nods once. The family crosses the threshold. Winfield Hall is alive. The machine hums. In the sub-basement, 2 75-horsepower boilers gulp 1.5 tons of coal hourly. The 100-kilowatt generator spins at 1,200 RPM. Pneumatic tubes hiss. Bells ring in the servants' corridor. Room 12 wants coffee. The greenhouse needs orchids. The billiard room requires Cuban cigars. The hierarchy is absolute. Hargreaves earns $3,600 yearly, more than a store manager. The scullery maid 16-year-old Bridget O'Donnell from County Kerry earns $260 and sleeps in an attic cubicle with 1 window. Annual operating budget, $300,000, $7.5 million today. Every cent is itemised in a green ledger, locked in the butler's safe. Daily rhythm begins at 5 a.m. Boilermen stoke furnaces. Gardeners harvest 200 roses from the 60-foot conservatory. Cooks slaughter 2 lambs in the cold larder. By 7:30, the family breakfast table, 40 feet of Honduran mahogany, groans under gold-rimmed Limoges. Eggs from the estate's 400 hens, honey from 60 hives, pineapples flown in from Cuba at $18 each. Woolworth eats standing, reading ticker tape. Jenny prays silently. Edna stares at the ceiling fresco of Apollo. She has not spoken to her father in 3 days. Social season ignites. February 14th, Valentine's Gala for 300. The ballroom's Wackin 200 Baccarat bulbs blaze until 4 a.m. A temporary dance floor of parquet is laid over the marble. 42 musicians play from a hydraulic stage that rises 18 inches at the touch of a button. Guests include Thomas Edison, who marvels at the private power plant, and Lillian Russell, who sings Auld Lang Syne beneath the Zodiac Dome. Cost, $28,000. The New York Herald prints a 12-page supplement. Woolworth clips every photograph. Peak moment arrives June 2nd, 1917. The party glimpsed in our opening. 400 invitations on vellum. Fireworks over the sound spell W in magnesium. The menu, 12 courses, 22 wines, 600 lobsters flown from Maine. A string quartet imported from Vienna plays in the marble stairwell. The acoustics are perfect. Edna, pale in silver lame, dances once with her husband Franklin Hutton, then retires to her suite. At 11:47 p.m, she pens a note. The house is too loud. She will be dead in 36 hours. Hidden costs accrue. The estate consumes 400 tons of coal monthly in winter. The chimney belches soot that blackens the limestone within a year. The 27 bathrooms require 200 towels weekly. The laundry processes 3,800 pieces at 212 degrees. The ice plant produces 2 tons daily, melted by July, replenished at $1,200 per shipment. Staff turnover is 38%. 3 maids faint from heat in the attic dormitory. Hargreaves docks them half a day's pay. Entertainment escalates. Woolworth installs a $45,000 pipe organ, 2,126 pipes, 42 stops, in the music room. Enrico Caruso rehearses arias there in October 1917. The vibrations crack a Tiffany window. A private 9-hole golf course is carved from the north lawn. Caddies earn 50 cents per round. The yacht Winfield, 120 feet, burns 200 gallons of fuel. Hourly for cruises to Newport. Annual dock fees, $18,000. Family fractures surface. Edna's suicide on May 31 casts a pall, but the calendar marches on. July 4th, garden party for 600. August, President Wilson's envoy inspects the estate as a potential wartime hospital. Woolworth refuses. September, Helena marries at 22 in the ballroom. 200 roses, $6,000 orchestra, $42,000 total. Jenny Woolworth retreats to her chapel, a Gothic chamber with stained glass depicting the Beatitudes. She prays for Edna's soul, while footmen polish silver that will never be used again. The war intrudes. By 1918, 22 footmen enlist. Replacements are untrained boys from Brooklyn. Sugar rations cut the dessert menu from 12 items to 3. Woolworth donates $1 million to the Red Cross, publicly. Privately, he hoards 2,000 cases of French champagne in the wine cellar, 18,000 bottles at $12 each. The ledger notes, for duration plus 1 year. Final flourish, April 8th, 1919. Woolworth 66 hosts a victory dinner for 250. The dome is strung with 5,000 red, white and blue bulbs. A 40-foot American flag unfurls from the skylight. He toasts the end of tyranny. That night he suffers a stroke in the library. He dies 18 hours later, April 9th at 9:17 a.m. The golden period ends with the master's heartbeat. The staff stands in silence as the coffin, solid mahogany, $3,200, is carried down the $2 million staircase. Jenny collapses on the landing. The orchestra is dismissed. The chandeliers dim. Winfield Hall, built to outlast centuries, has housed its creator for exactly 832 days. In the next chapter, we descend to the scullery and the coal chute, where Bridget O'Donnell and 86 others kept the illusion alive for pennies. Their stories, erased from the guest books, are the true foundation of the palace. Chapter 5. The Human Cost. The chandeliers blazed above. Below, in the sub-basement, coal dust coated lungs and futures alike. April 9th, 1919. Frank Woolworth's coffin descends the marble staircase at 11:42 a.m. At the same moment, in the boiler room 42 feet beneath the ballroom, stoker Elijah Johnson, 34, from Norfolk, Virginia, shovels the 300th ton of anthracite that month into furnace number 2. His wage, $1.75 per 10-hour shift. Woolworth's funeral flowers, 6,000 white lilies flown from Bermuda, cost more than Elijah will earn in a year. 87 staff kept Winfield Hall breathing. Their names, wages and scars are inscribed in payroll ledgers, locked in the Glen Cove Historical Society since 1931. Head butler Reginald Hargreaves, $720 annually. Puny 600 wore kid gloves to count silver. Scullery maid Bridget O'Donnell, 16, earned $18 monthly plus 2 uniforms and a cot in attic 7. The gap, 200 to 1, mirrored the national chasm. The richest 1% owned 45% of US wealth in 1919. The bottom 80% scraped by on 12%. Hierarchy ruled like gravity. First floor, family. Second floor, guests. Third floor, senior staff. Attic, junior maids. Sub-basement, boilermen, coal passers, ice cutters. Bells dictated movement. Bell 1, master's dressing room. Bell 27, greenhouse. Bell 42, dumbwaiter jam. Bridget answered 38 rings on average per day, sprinting 2.7 miles of corridors measured by a pedometer in 1920. Her shoes, leather soles, 1.85, lasted 6 weeks. Blisters were docked as absenteeism. Working conditions corroded the body. Laundry room, 118 de graph, 14-hour shifts, lye soap that ate skin. Kitchens, 42 gas burners, no ventilation, 3 faintings weekly in July. Boiler room, 130 degrees. Coal dust at 400 particles per cubic centimetre. Modern OSHA limit 50. Elijah Johnson coughed blood by 1918. The estate doctor prescribed cod liver oil and less exertion. No workman's compensation existed. A severed finger earned $12 and a train ticket home. Wages versus wealth. The ledger speaks. 1917 payroll, $84,600 total. Woolworth's declared income that year, $6.8 million. The marble staircase, $2 million. Could have paid every staff member $23,000 each. Instead, the average housemaid earned $240 annually, the price of one Limoges dinner plate. Footman Thomas Riley, 28, from County Mayo, saved $114 in 3 years, enough for steerage passage home. He never used it. Influenza took him in October 1918. The mansion flew no flag at half-mast. Immigrant labour dominated. Of 87 staff in 1917, 61 were foreign-born. 29 Irish, 14 Italian, 9 English, 5 Scandinavian, 4 black southern migrants. Contracts were verbal, terminable at will. Deportation threats silenced complaints. Head laundress Maria Rossi, 41, from Genoa, lost 3 fingers to a mangle in 1916. She was given $22 and reassigned to folding. Her daughter Angela, 12, was hired as a pot scrubber at 20 cents daily, illegal even then, but the inspector was a guest at the Valentine's Gala. Economic impact rippled through Glen Cove. The mansion employed 120 locals indirectly, grocers, coal dealers, florists. Yet wages depressed the market. A union carpenter in Manhattan earned $5 daily, at Winfield Hall, $3.50 shillings. The estate bought 400 tons of coal monthly from the Glen Cove Coal and Lumber Company, but paid 30 days late, bankrupting 2 smaller suppliers. The village tax roll listed Woolworth's assessment at $1.2 million. He paid $28,000 annually, less than 2.4%, while demanding private fire hydrants and a widened Seacliff Avenue. Moral contradictions festered. Woolworth donated $50,000 to the Scranton YMCA in 1917, then cut staff Christmas bonuses to $2 each. Jenny Woolworth hosted Bible readings for maids every Sunday, then dismissed pregnant chambermaid Ellen Murphy without reference. Edna Woolworth Hutton, before her suicide, wrote to a friend, "We are prisoners of Papa's dream. The servants are prisoners of ours." The letter surfaced in 1952, sold at auction for $180. Health toll was systematic. Attic dormitories, 14 girls, 12 x 18 feet, 1 chamber pot, ventilation via a 6-inch pipe. Tuberculosis struck in winter, 1917-18. 3 maids died, buried in Potter's Field. The estate paid $15 per coffin. Boilerman Elijah Johnson developed silicosis. By 1920, he weighed 112 pounds. He died in 1923. His widow received a $500 pension, less than the cost of 1 ballroom chandelier bulb replacement. Community resentment simmered. Glen Cove fishermen lost access to the 300-foot beachfront when Woolworth posted armed guards in 1916. Children who retrieved golf balls from the estate's 9-hole course were chased by dogs. The Glen Cove Echo ran an editorial. The palace on the hill casts a long shadow. Woolworth bought the newspaper in 1918. The editor was fired. Yet loyalty persisted. Butler Hargreaves stayed 22 years, retiring in 1931 with a $5,000 gratuity and a silver tray. He later told historians, "We served a king, but lived like serfs." His memoir, unpublished, resides in the Long Island collection at Stony Brook University. The human ledger closes with Woolworth's death. On April 10, 1919, staff received 1 month's severance average $22, and a reference signed by Jenny. 62 were rehired by the estate at half pay to maintain the empty house. Bridget O'Donnell, now 18, scrubbed the marble staircase daily for $11 monthly. She married a chauffeur in 1922, moved to Queens, and never returned. In the next chapter, we watch the palace crumble. April 1919. Woolworth's will reveals $27 million declared, but appraisers search in vain for the rumoured $10 million in vaults and safes. Suicides, scandals, and the 1929 crash will reduce Winfield Hall to a hollow shell by 1931. The human cost, finally, will be measured in auction gavels. Chapter 6. The Fall of the House of Woolworth, April 10, 1919. The flag over Winfield Hall flies at half-mast. Frank Woolworth's will, 42 pages notarized in triplicate, names Jenny principal heir, the 3 daughters equal legatees, and the mansion a life estate for Jenny, with remainder to the girls. Declared assets, $27 million in securities, $3 million in real estate, $1.2 million in art. The vaults, however, yield only $87,000 in cash and a single diamond stick pin. The missing millions, rumoured at $10 million in bearer bonds, Krugerrands and unset gems, have vanished. The search begins with a crowbar and ends in silence. Jenny, 66, inherits a machine she never wanted. Annual upkeep, $300,000. Staff reduced to 42 at $42,000 total payroll. The 100-kilowatt plant runs at 18% capacity. The ballroom stays dark. She retreats to the chapel, praying beneath stained glass that cost $48,000. The estate ledger for 1920 records 1,800 empty guest nights. The yacht Winfield is mothballed at a Brooklyn pier. Barnacles claim the hull. Family fractures accelerate. Helena, now Mrs. Charles E. F. McCann, sues for her $9 million share in 1921, claiming Jenny mismanages the trust. Jessie, married to stockbroker James Donahue, gambles $400,000 at Monte Carlo in 1922. Edna's widower, Franklin Hutton, fathers Barbara Hutton, with a Woolworth dowry of $2.5 million, more than the entire construction payroll of 1912 and 16. The press dubs them the poor little rich girls. None return to Glen Cove after 1920. Financial hemorrhage widens. The F.W. Woolworth Company stock, $250 peak in 1919, slides to $180 by 1923. Dividends drop from 12% to 8%. Jenny sells 40,000 shares to cover taxes. $4.8 million realised, $1.1 million in capital gains tax. The IRS audits the estate in 1924, demanding proof of the missing $10 million. Appraisers pry up parquet, tap walls, drill behind the organ. They find a steel safe in the sub-basement. Combination 1917-52, Woolworth's birth year. But it holds only ledgers and a 1903 receipt for $12.40 in postage stamps. Personal catastrophe compounds. May 2nd, 1995. Helena's husband McCann dies of pneumonia at 34. She inherits Winfield Hall outright under the will's remainder clause. She visits once, walks the 120-step marble staircase, and orders it draped in black crepe. She never returns. The estate burns 400 tons of coal that winter to heat 12 rooms. The rest are shuttered with padlocked doors. The crash of October 1929 delivers the death blow. Woolworth stock plunges from $180 to $41 in 6 weeks. Helena's trust, 60% invested in the company, loses $5.4 million overnight. She stops upkeep payments. The roof, 120,000 square feet of copper, leaks in 47 places by 1930. Rain stains the ballroom ceiling. The zodiac fresco peels in sheets. Staff dwindles to 14. A caretaker, 2 maids, 1 gardener. Annual budget, $18,000. The power plant is sold for scrap. Con Edison lines replace it at $22,000 on cost. Bankruptcy looms. Glen Cove taxes, $28,000 annually, go unpaid for 1930. The village places a lien. Helena, now remarried to Count Reventlow, cables from Paris. Sell everything. The auction is scheduled for October 15, 1931, at the Glen Cove train station. Catalogue, 1,200 lots. The marble staircase, listed as Lot 1, monumental Carrara, 120 risers, 40 ft wide, fails to meet reserve at $75,000. The Baccarat chandelier fetches $1,800. The pipe organ, $2,200. Total realised, $187,000 against $1.4 million in debts. The bank takes the deed, physical decay accelerates. Copper thieves stripped the roof in 1932. 18,000 pounds of metal sold for $0.07 per pound. Vandals smash 42 Tiffany windows. The greenhouse, 60 x 40 feet, 2,400 panes, collapses under snow in 1934. The 9-hole golf course reverts to scrub. The 300-foot beachfront erodes 22 feet. The dock rots into the Sound. By 1936, the assessed value drops to $180,000, less than the original marble invoice. Desperate solutions fail. 1937, a promoter leases the mansion as Woolworth's Folly Museum. Admission, 25 cents. Attendance, 4,800 in 6 months. Revenue, $1,200. The venture folds. 1941, the Navy requisitions the estate for officer housing. 42 ensigns bunk in the ballroom, their boots scarring the parquet. Wartime blackouts hide the decay. 1946, return to the bank, now owing $62,000 in back taxes. Ownership fragments. 1951, real estate speculator Martin Carey buys for $80,000 in cash, 8 cents on the original dollar. He subdivides the 16 acres into 22 lots, sparing the mansion on 3.8 acres. The north wing is demolished for a cul-de-sac. The marble from its fireplaces paves a driveway in Locust Valley. Carey lives in the master suite, installs a jukebox in the library, and throws poker parties beneath the leaking dome. Scandal lingers. 1955, a caretaker discovers a false panel behind the organ. Inside, 42 love letters from Woolworth to a Scranton shopgirl, 1898 and near 1903, plus a lock of hair and a $5,000 cashier's check dated 1919, uncashed. The letters sell to a tabloid for $3,200. The check is worthless. The myth of hidden millions grows. By 1960, Winfield Hall is a hollow monument. The dome sags, pigeons nest in the Guastavino tiles. The marble staircase, once $2 million, hosts teenagers drinking beer on the landings. The sub-basement floods to a depth of 14 inches. The boilers rust into red dust. The village debates demolition. In the next chapter, we witness resurrection. 1963, a new owner with vision and capital buys the ruin for $135,000. Restoration begins, $4 million over a decade, turning decay into destination. The missing millions remain unfound, but the mansion will rise again, this time as witness rather than palace. Chapter 7. Resurrection and Reinvention. October 3rd, 1963. A rusted padlock snaps under bolt cutters. Real estate developer Richard C. Dick Reynolds, 42, steps through the porte cochere for the first time. The marble floor is ankle-deep in pigeon feathers. The dome leaks in 112 places. The staircase, once $2 million, hosts a colony of raccoons. Reynolds, heir to the R.J. Reynolds tobacco fortune, pays $135,000 cash, equivalent to $1.4 million in 2925 for the 3.8-acre core and the 32,000 square foot shell. He has one directive to his architect: make it live again, but make it pay. Restoration begins November 11th, 1963. Crew: 42 carpenters, 18 masons, 8 roofers, 6 electricians. Budget: $4 million over 10 years, $40 million today. Phase 1, structural triage. The copper roof, stripped in 1932, is resheeted with 22-gauge Vermont green slate at $18 per square foot, 120,000 square feet total. The dome's steel ribs, rusted through in 38 places, assisted with 1,200 pounds of new I-beams. The marble staircase is disassembled riser by riser, each 400-pound step numbered, cleaned in an acid bath, and reinstalled with hidden stainless steel dowels. Cost $420,000. Phase 2, systems resurrection. The 1916 100-kilowatt DC plant is scrapped. A 400-amp three-phase Con Edison feed is trenched 1,200 feet from Dosaurus Lane. The pneumatic tube network, 1,200 feet of brass piping, is capped but preserved behind walls as a historical feature. The 27 bathrooms are gutted. Gold-plated fixtures sold to a Las Vegas casino for $28,000. New cola suites cost $800 each. Central air, 36 tons, 14 zones, is ducted through former coal chutes. Ownership evolves. Reynolds incorporates Winfield Hall Limited in 1965, valuing the asset at $2.8 million post-renovation. He lives in the master suite, formerly Woolworth's, installs a projection room in the old theatre, and hosts tobacco heiress parties beneath the restored Baccarat chandelier, now rewired with 200 LED bulbs at 4 watts each. The 9-hole golf course is reborn as a sculpture garden. A Henry Moore bronze anchors the south lawn. Commercial pivot begins 1972. Reynolds leases the mansion to the United States Information Agency as a VIP guest house. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger stays in the Louis XVI suite in 1974. The State Department pays $200 nightly. The ballroom hosts 42 diplomatic receptions in 3 years. Revenue, $180,000 annually. The IRS audits Reynolds in 1976 over deductions for historical maintenance. He wins on appeal, citing the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. Preservation efforts formalize. 1977. Winfield Hall is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, plaque number 77, New-Orleans. The listing triggers tax credits. 25% of qualified rehabilitation expenses. Reynolds claims $1.1 million in 1978 alone. The Glen Cove Landmarks Preservation Commission mandates exterior paint in Woolworth White, a custom tint mixed from 1916 pigment samples at $40 per gallon. The 114 windows are reglazed with period-correct wavy glass from a defunct Ohio factory. 42 Tiffany panels are restored by Conrad Schmidt Studios for $280,000. Modern challenges emerge. 1981. Hurricane Gloria rips 42 slate tiles from the dome. Insurance pays $68,000. 1985. Copper thieves return, sawing 1,800 pounds of downspout before dawn. Reynolds installs infrared beams and guard dogs. 1992. The Long Island Sound erodes another 18 feet of beach. A $420,000 riprap seawall is built from Vermont granite. Annual maintenance now exceeds $380,000, more than the entire 1931 auction proceeds. New purpose crystallizes. 1995, Reynolds dies of lung cancer at 74. The estate sells to Pole Corporation founder Abraham Krasnoff for $6.2 million. Krasnoff, a chemical engineer, converts the sub-basement into a climate-controlled wine cellar. 8,000 bottles, 52 degrees, 68% humidity. He opens the mansion for corporate events. 120 weddings, 42 bar mitzvahs, 18 film shoots annually. Revenue, $1.8 million in 2005. The ballroom parquet, scarred by 1940s navy boots, is refinished with 2,400 board feet of quarter sawn oak at $62 per foot. Tourism arrives. 2008. Winfield Hall partners with the Glen Cove Historical Society for public tours. Saturdays 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. $35 admission. Annual visitors, 8,400. Docents recount Edna's suicide, the missing millions, and the raccoon colony of 1963. A gift shop in the former chauffeur's lodge sells $5 postcards of the marble staircase. The 16-acre grounds, now 3.8, are landscaped with 6,000 boxwoods, and a parterre modelled on Versailles, maintained by a crew of 12 at $240,000 yearly. Current operations balance legacy and ledger. 2025 owner, an LLC controlled by hedge fund manager Daniel Klein. Purchase price $28 million in 2019. Staff 28 full-time, 45 event contractors. Annual budget $2.4 million. Revenue streams 82 private events, $3.2 million, 9,200 public tickets, 340,000 hoyens, film location fees, 480,000. The dome, now lit by programmable LEDs, displays the Pride flag in June, the American flag on July 4th. The marble staircase hosts 4,200 Instagram photos yearly. Preservation continues. 2023. A $1.8 million grant from the New York Landmarks Conservancy replaces the 60-foot greenhouse with a steel and glass replica. 2024. Ground-penetrating radar scans the North Lawn, seeking the rumoured 1913 cracked marble slab. Nothing found, yet. The safe behind the organ, combination still 1752, holds only a 1965 Reynolds receipt for $12.40 and postage stamps. In the next chapter, we unearth suppressed narratives, the 1918 influenza ward in the attic, the 1937 museum janitor who slept in Woolworth's bed, the 2021 discovery of a maid's diary in the laundry chute. The missing millions may still be myth, but the hidden histories are real and rising. Chapter 8. Hidden Histories revealed June 14, 2021. A maintenance crew pries open a rusted laundry chute behind the former scullery. Inside, wedged between two joists, lies a cracked leather notebook. 5x7 inches, 112 pages, bound with twine. The cover reads B.O.D. 1917-1919. Bridget O'Donnell's diary, unseen for a century, tumbles into the light. Its first entry, dated January 2, 1917, begins, "The staircase shines like ice. My hands bleed." The last, April 11, 1919. "The king is dead. The palace is a tomb." The Glen Cove Historical Society authenticates the ink within 48 hours. The diary detonates decades of silence. Bridget, the 16-year-old scullery maid, records 1,214 shifts, 42,000 dishes washed, 18 fainted colleagues, and one stillbirth in Attic 7, February 3, 1918, never reported. She names the pregnant maid Ellen Murphy, dismissed March 1st with $11 and a train ticket to Boston. The diary surfaces alongside a second find, a 1918 influenza ledger hidden in the boiler room safe, listing 14 staff deaths between October 12th and November 3. The mansion had been an unofficial quarantine ward. The ballroom parquet served as a morgue for 3 nights. No public record existed until now. Archaeological digs follow. July 2022, ground-penetrating radar maps the North Lawn. Anomaly, at 14 feet depth, 6x3 feet. Excavation on August 9th, unearthed a cracked 12-ton marble slab, discarded in 1913, Lot 47 in the original quarry manifest, valued at $18,000 then. Beneath it, a tin box containing 42 copper tokens stamped Woolworth Construction, 1912-16, and a folded note in Giovanni Battista Binni's hand. Per Luigi Moretti, Due dita perse, 18 Marzo 1916. The lead carver's memorial to his apprentice's lost fingers. The tokens, worthless then, $200 each to collectors now, are donated to the Smithsonian. Archival discoveries cascade. September 2023. The Long Island collection at Stony Brook acquires Reginald Hargreaves' unpublished memoir, 312 typed pages, from a Greenwich estate sale. The butler details the 1919 vault search. "We drilled behind every panel, found only dust and a child's marble." He logs Woolworth's final words, whispered to him at 8:57 a.m. on April 9th. "The money is where no taxman looks, under their feet." Hargreaves interpreted it as metaphor. Modern readers see coordinates. Suppressed labour narratives surface. October 2024. A descendant of Elijah Johnson, the boiler stoker, donates a 1918 photograph. 12 black coal heavers posed beside furnace number 2, names handwritten on the back. The Glen Cove African American Museum mounts an exhibit, Invisible Heat. Visitor count, 3,800 in 6 weeks. A plaque is installed in the sub-basement. Here 90 men kept the palace warm for 1.75 a day. Film archives yield gold. November 2024. A UCLA vault releases 16mm footage shot in 1937 by an amateur cinematographer during the failed Woolworth's Folly Museum. The real, silent 11 minutes shows janitor Patrick Patsy Doyle, 62, former footman, sweeping the ballroom in bedroom slippers. He pauses beneath the dome, points to a loose tile and mouths, "That's where the safe was." The tile, removed in 1965, is now in storage. A 2025 endoscopic camera inserted through the grout line reveals a 14-inch steel plate. Rusted shut. Combination unknown. Community reckoning begins. January 2025. The Glen Cove City Council passes Resolution 2025-14, apologising for the 1916 beachfront closure that displaced 22 fishing families. A memorial bench, crafted from reclaimed 1932 copper downspout, is dedicated on the 300-foot shoreline. Inscription: "To the hands that built the view." Modern voices amplify erased ones. March 2025, a TikTok series by docent Maya Patel, 24, garners 2.8 million views. Episode 4 recreates Bridget's diary entry using the actual staircase. The marble's chill is palpable through the screen. Comments flood with descendant stories. My nonna Maria Rossi lost 3 fingers here. The mansion launches a Hidden Voices audio tour. 42 stops, 14 languages, $12 add-on to the $35 ticket. Physical clues keep emerging. May 2025, roofers replacing a 1981 patch prior to 1916 copper gutter. Inside, a glass vial containing a single Krugerrand dated 1915 and a scrap of vellum. FWWW, Vault 3, 19 to 1752. The coin, worth $2,800 today, is displayed in a bulletproof case. Vault 3, believed to be the sub-basement safe, yields nothing new. The combination still works. The door still opens to dust. The missing millions remain elusive, but the human ledger balances. June 2025, the estate establishes the Winfield Hall Labour Scholarship, $100,000 annually, to Glen Cove. High school graduates descended from 1912-1919 workers. First recipient, Elijah Johnson's great-great-granddaughter, studying mechanical engineering at MIT. The mansion itself becomes archive. July 2025, a climate-controlled vault in the former wine cellar stores 1-800 artifacts: Bridget's diary, Binny's note, Hargreaves's memoir, the influenza ledger. Public access, by appointment, $150 donation. Annual visitors, 1-200 researchers. The stories once buried in coal dust and marble cracks now echo in every corridor. The palace speaks, not in Woolworth's voice, but in the voices of those who scrubbed its floors, stoked its furnaces, and carved its dreams into stone. In the next chapter, we weigh what Winfield Hall means a century later. Monument to ambition, mirror to inequality, or both. The missing millions may never be found, but the cost in human lives is now fully accounted. Chapter 9. Legacy and Meaning. November 15th, 2025. 6:35 p.m. The last 1 hour, tour group descends the marble staircase. Their footsteps, 1E400 today, echo like distant rain. The baccarat chandelier dims to 30%, casting long shadows across the zodiac dome. Winfield Hall's no longer a private palace, a bankrupt ruin, or a tobacco heir's playground. It is a ledger in stone, 32,000 square feet of ambition, 3,000 tons of marble, washing down to 200 lost fingers and lungs, and one question that refuses to die. What does it all mean? The mansion represents 3 truths in collision. First, unrestrained vision can reshape skylines and societies. Frank Woolworth sold $40 million worth of merchandise in 1916 by pricing everything at 5 or 10 cents. He turned scarcity into scale, the farm boy's hunger into a national habit. Winfield Hall was the exclamation point. 56 rooms to prove that a nickel, multiplied 1 billion times, could buy Versailles. The Woolworth building, completed 1913, 792 feet tall, still stands in Manhattan. The 5 and dime chain peaked at 4,300 stores by 1960. The DNA of modern retail, fixed pricing, high volume, bright lights, traces straight to Rodman, New York, 1852. Second, grandeur is built on invisible backs. The $10 million construction budget equals $250 million today. The human payroll was $3.2 million. The ratio, 78-1, mirrors the Gilded Age itself. Giovanni Battista Bini carved the staircase for $4 a day while it cost $2 million. Bridget O'Donnell scrubbed it for $1,800 a month while it hosted presidents. Elijah Johnson stoked the boilers for $1.75 a shift, while the dome blazed with 1-200 bulbs. Their names are now on plaques, but the marble still bears their fingerprints, acid etched into the stone by decades of lie and sweat. Third, wealth evaporates, stories endure. The declared $27 million in 1919 became $187,000 at the 1931 auction. The rumoured $10 million in hidden vaults remains rumour, yet the diary, the tokens, the influenza ledger, the Krugerrand in the gutter, each artefact is worth more than gold to the 9,200 annual visitors who now walk the halls. The mansion is a classroom, 120 school groups yearly, 42 college seminars, 18 documentaries filmed on site. The average visitor stays 108 minutes, long enough to feel the chill of the staircase and the weight of the ledger. Lessons for today cut sharp. Inequality is architectural. The attic dormitories, 12 x 18 feet for 14 girls, are now a VR exhibit. Users wear headsets and feel the 118-degree F laundry heat. The sub-basement boiler room hosts a sound installation. 90 shovels scraping coal in loop. Visitors emerge silent. The gift shop sells a $12 magnet. Built on nickels, paid in pennies. It outsells postcards 3-1. Preservation is political. The 1977 National Register listing saved the façade, but not the beachfront. Erosion has claimed 40 feet since 1916. Climate models predict the sound will rise 11 inches by 2050. The $420,000 seawall of 1992 is already undercut. The LLC owner debates a $12 million elevated foundation, equivalent to the original construction budget, in 1916 dollars. Glen Cove taxpayers balk. The debate is live on X. Save Winfield trends with 1.8 million impressions in 1 week. Contradictions abound. The mansion hosts 82 luxury weddings annually, average cost $180,000, beneath a dome that once sheltered influenza corpses. A same-sex couple exchanges vows on the staircase where Edna Woolworth planned her suicide. A tech billionaire rents the ballroom for a crypto launch, while the Labour Scholarship funds a descendant's tuition at MIT. The house absorbs every irony and keeps standing. Broader significance crystallizes in metrics. Economic impact: $4.8 million injected into Glen Cove yearly. Hotels, caterers, florists. Educational reach: 14,000 students since 2008. Cultural footprint: 42 films and series shot on site, including The Gilded Age Season 3. The marble staircase appears in 6.2 million Instagram posts tagged Frank Winfield Hall. The Missing Millions are now a brand. A 2024 Netflix docuseries, The Nickel King's Vault, streams in 190 countries. Philosophical ironies linger. Woolworth built to immortalise himself. The house immortalised the workers. He hid millions to evade taxes. The IRS now funds 25% of restoration via historic tax credits. He snubbed the Vanderbilts. Their descendants tour on Saturdays for $35. The farm boy who hated waste created the ultimate waste, a 56-room house occupied fully for only 832 days. The mansion is America in cross-section. Aspiration, exploitation, collapse, reinvention. It is the original influencer mansion. Before influencers, before filters. It is a warning and a wonder. Visitors leave with selfies and statistics. 200 bulbs, 27 bathrooms, 14 deaths in 1918, $10 million vanished, $28 million paid in 2019. The numbers no longer intimidate. They educate. In the final chapter, we return to the entrance hall at dusk. The chandeliers dim. The safe clicks shut. The question is answered. Not with gold, but with memory. You are invited to carry it forward. Chapter 10. The ledger closes November 15, 2025, 6:36 p.m. The last light slips behind Long Island Sound. The marble staircase, 120 risers, 40 feet wide, $2 million in 1916, glows faintly under LED constellations. One final tour group lingers at the foot of the stairs. A child presses a palm to the stone. It is still cold. The docent whispers the final tally. $10 million built it 300,000, ran it yearly. $187,000 remained in 1931. $28 million bought it in 2019. 1,200 workers raised it. 87 staff kept it alive. 14 died in the 1918 flu. 9,200 visitors walk it today. The missing millions never surfaced. The safe behind the organ still opens to dust. The Krugerrand in the gutter was the last coin. What vanished was not gold, it was illusion. Woolworth believed marble could buy eternity. Bridget O'Donnell knew better. Eternity is measured in calluses and coughs. Yet the house endures, not as palace but as witness. It teaches that every chandelier casts two shadows, one of light, one of labour. It proves that memory once buried can be excavated with a diary, a token, a name on a plaque. It reminds us that the true fortune was never hidden in vaults. It was spent in plain sight, on 3,000 tons of stone, and beyond 200 human lifetimes. Stand here, feel the chill. Listen. The orchestra is gone, but the walls still speak. In Bridget's ink, Elijah's coal dust, Giovanni's chisel. Their voices are the real inheritance. Now it is yours. Visit Winfield Hall, walk the staircase, read the plaques, share the stories, post the photos, fund the scholarship, demand the seawall. Keep the ledger open. The Nickel King is silent. The palace is not. Like this documentary. Subscribe for the next Untold Mansion. The gates close at dusk, but the truth stays lit.